to the next presentation. That's developing environmentally friendly superficial geochemical exploration techniques. It's given by Pertti Sarala from University of Oulu. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see so many faces still here. Yes, I will talk about very lightweight and environmental friendly exploration techniques. Yesterday we heard quite many interesting presentations concerning different critical raw material deposits and commodities in Nordic countries and surrounding areas, and there were mentioned quite many problems that how to identify them and try to find critical raw material sources. And if we think about, let's say, conventional exploration using, for example, transported sediments and surface sediments cover, we have several problems, like we can have quite thick classigenic sediments or other sediment types, like there are aeolian deposits which are covering quite effectively bedrock surface. And then we have different situations in the field, like there in the top you can see sampling in large peatland area. Then we can have a very difficult areas to have access to the field, bushes, and then some like Arctic areas, like there on the right down corner you can see. But like here in Estonia, we have sediment rock cover on above crystalline bedrock, and of course it is challenging to look under that sediment cover. And if there are also, like here, classigenic sediments over that, it makes even things worse in the exploration case. So that's why we need techniques for a little bit different approach to look what we have directly under sediment cover. And for that we have a group of surficial geochemical methods. So now we are not looking for transported material, but directly through the sediment covered underlying bedrock. And there are, for example, sample materials from minerogenic and also organic sediment cover. Then we can use plant material, peat, and also snow as a geochemical tool for exploration. And for example, minerals horizons are practically available everywhere, but not, of course, if we have thick organic material like peatlands, and then, of course, if we have exposed bedrock surface, then we can do exploration quite easily, just looking bedrock surface. What is good point with those techniques, surficial geochemical methods, it's quite easy to do exploration or sampling, so quick sampling and low or practically we don't need so much sample pre-processing before sending samples to analysis. For many sampling we have quite constant way to do sampling, so we don't need so much expertise about soil types or surfaces. Just, for example, one technique, it's only collecting samples from 10 to 25 centimeters from below the organic layer. It's always same procedure. And then for biogeochemical sampling, there are typically a lot of different species available. But of course, we need to do some kind of testing and piloting to look which plants are suitable and best in certain target areas. And then snow geochemistry. Something is missing there, but we look at that a little bit later. What is the benefit of that? And good point is that we have a lot of commercial analysis methods available, so we can choose different methods in different target size and different kind of geochemical trap sites. We can have different strategies for sampling, and then what is good point, we have very small environmental impact. You can see there nice photos of snow sampling, plant sampling, and then soil sampling. And you can see it is very, there are no traces or impact on the nature. For example, collecting bark samples after 2 years, you can't see anything about that sampling. And what is the idea behind of these techniques is so-called mobile metal ion theory. So there we have, is this working? Maybe you can see, but we have the mineralization in the bedrock, and there is always oxidation and bacterial work going on the surface of those mineralization. And they are producing gases and then releasing ions from the ore deposit. And those ions are then migrating through the bedrock and then upper surface and accumulating on the upper part of soil layers. And also soil gases which are produced by bacteria and different hydrocarbons which are released based on bacteria work. They are moving to the surface, and with them there are some metal ions also migrating. And also during winter time, so that is happening mostly in the summertime, but also winter time, that activity is going on, and gases and metal ions with them are also captured or accumulated to the bottom part of the snow cover. And we can analyze, as I mentioned, by different leaching techniques and analytical techniques, the concentration of ions in the sediment material, but also in the soil, in the snow. And we can identify their different anomaly types. So we have so-called apical anomaly just over the known mineralization, or there can be so-called rapid ear anomaly, which means that we have anomaly peaks on both sides of the mineralization. And then depending on bedrock structures, for example, or groundwater movement, we can also have secondary anomalies, for example, based on fault system formed to the next of the mineralization. So that is the basic idea, and it is also for plants. So plants are taking nutrients from the upper part of the soil, and there are those ions available also for plants. And there are different techniques to migrate those ions to the surface. I'm not going into detail of them, but for example, capillary action is typical, where we have thick, fine-grained material in the sediment cover. And then this is very last idea of how the ions are moving, there are so-called reduced chimneys, which are then following the electrochemical variation between soil surface and then mineralization, and it is forming this kind of cells, and that rapid ER anomaly is kind of based of that process. Okay, then soil sampling, it is typically very small test bit needed, and samples are collected on the surface of that soil, typically from the upper part of P horizon, for example in potsoil soil types. And then that impact is very low. We have test bit here, and then after collecting samples, we put all material back in the hole and turn that literature, and you can see basically nothing after sampling. And we can collect different sample materials depending on what kind of soil cover we have and what we are looking for. For example, this black material between organic surface and mineralized soil, that is very good. For example, in gold exploration, there are a lot of examples that it is working for that. But typically we are collecting samples from upper part of the P horizon, from that under that gray material, and that is good for many weak leach techniques. And of course, sometimes it is good to also look what is the kind of basic material, so sea horizon, unaltered material composition and concentrations for elements. Plant sampling, as I mentioned, it is good to look what kind of vegetation is available in the study area, and then find the most suitable plants, like considering coverage of plants in the study area, and then which have highest contrast of element concentrations in the areas. And there are typical plants in Nordic countries like Norway spruce, pine, birch, berries, shrubs, and so on. And then it is also good to look which part of the plants are used, which are best for the study of that certain commodities. And there you can see some sampling of plants material. And then snow, that is interesting. Of course, it is not suitable in the areas where we don't have snow cover. That is good to remember that. It is not working everywhere, but for example here in Nordic countries, Canada, USA, Russia, and so on, it is very good because we have long winter time. There is several months snow cover available. Practically, it is some kind of knowledge that about 3-4 weeks snow cover is enough to get that geochemical signal under sediment cover. And ideal time here is, for example, January to March. So after 1-2 months when the first snow was gone. There is long accumulation, high contrast, no basal melting during that time. And sampling is typically from the bottom part of the snow cover, about 10 to 20 centimeters from the ground. And we have used this kind of accrual tube for collecting samples, and this kind of 1 deciliter plastic jars for collecting samples. And good point is that we don't need melt those samples, so don't need any acidic treatment for them, just keeping in the frozen and send them as a frozen to the laboratory where they melt them just before analyzing. And one thing is that we have to be very careful. Concentration levels are typically PPT. So if you take snow and you have contaminated samples. So there must be very careful when collecting snow samples. And what analytical methods to select? There are many things that should be considered, but particularly, for example, that trap site. So what is the mineralogy, for example, which minerals are easily capturing certain elements, that should be considered. And for example, carbonatite or goethite, they are very porous minerals and easily take those ions which are moving in the soil. And then we need to select leaching techniques based on those trap sites what we expected in the soil. I'm not going any detail of them here. And then for snow we can use also this kind of soil gas hydrocarbons technique to look different hydrocarbons which are sensitive for certain type of ore deposits. And then we can also use high resolution ICP-MS to analyze directly element concentrations. And in this study testing we have used GTK's laboratory in Espoo for this. And some examples. This is one target related to PhD nickel copper exploration in northern Finland, and there we have mafic volcanic rocks and intrusive rocks in this area. And here is one long sampling line over this till cover in this area, and there we have our mineralization, and you can see very nice anomaly in technique called MMIM for palladium in this case, just over the known mineralization. And till cover there is 2 to 6 meters. Then this is example of soil gas hydrocarbon method and interpretation, and there you can see typical rapid ear anomaly and mineralization between that. It's working there nice. Then other example from Sokli carbonatite massive in eastern Finnish Lapland, and there we have carbonate massive here, and then in phenitic zone this kind of structures which are seen as a magnetic anomalies, but there are also lanthanum rare elements, phosphorus, which are increased, and you can see there are some known mineralization, and then how the lanthanum is seen as a different anomalies and have a nice strong anomaly pattern there. And then last examples of snow geochemistry. This is from the Kuusamo gold deposit, and there we can see a couple of mineralization, one in the surface and one in the 150 meter depth, deep from the surface. And you can see both hydrocarbon anomalies, but also copper arsenic anomalies, very strong over both known mineralization. So conclusion, good point for this are that practically all material can be used what is available in the surface. There are a lot of methods that can be used. Quick sampling, snow sampling is also very easy and available in large areas here in Northern Europe, for example. Small environmental impact, and what is good point, also suitable for deep ore exploration. And then there are some restrictions. Not all elements are possible to analyze with all techniques. Soil horizons can be sometimes limited, so not all layers are available. Whatever, yes. And then some exercise for you to the end. So there you should find, or maybe you can find a couple of sampling points in this photo. I can help you a little bit. So there are 2 points. And that is the idea of very low impact environmental friendly sampling. Thank you.
Much, Pertti. I'm afraid we are running short on time here, so we'll skip the questions, but please, there will be time for that in the coffee break. And then we'll move on